You're listening to the K-Pop Cast. I'm your K-Pop host, Stephanie, joined by my illustrious K-Pop DJ co-host, Peter Lowe.
Howdy. And it says howdy here in the show notes. That's what I'm saying. And we're bringing on guest Rhodri Thomas of the K-Pop show and fantastic elastic musician. Rhodri, happy to have you on the show.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me back yet again.
So today we're giving you a double shot of Daebak or Not, Taeyang edition.
Yeah.
We'll be reviewing his brand new singles, Darling and Wake Me Up.
But before we do that, let's do our hit replays. So what's making you hit replay this week, Stephanie?
I have got a new release from my girl Hyuna. No, not that Hyuna. Hyuna from Nine Muses did a little collab with EU Erin called Dung Dung, which means floating. And I just really like it because it's this dreamy summer jam. I feel like I'm in a cabana poolside with a pina colada. And it does have a tropical house vibe to it. I know that we're hating on that genre these days, but I think they do it right, or in a more electro, refreshing kind of way. So I'm enjoying it.
Awesome.
I have actually not heard that one yet. I'm gonna have to go check that out.
I think we're allowed to like tropical house, but
are we?
I don't know.
Nope.
I don't know. This is kind of a question for myself because I'm like really down on the genre. But I was like, dang it, I like this one. Who am I?
I think we're allowed to like it until SM does it. That's when we really got to draw the line.
So I am in the clear. Cool. So moving right along, how about you, Pilo? What's making you hit replay?
Sonamu and their song Friday Night. Intellectually, there's like no reason why I should like this. It falls into like all the horrible like K-pop tropes. I mean, whatever it is, it's like maybe it's this flavor of aegyo, maybe it's their G-friend style of dancing in a pool of water, or the really cliche like alto and like baritone sax sounds that you get whenever like K-pop is trying to be like sexy, you know, and it has them like shaking their butts and the camera zooming in on their butts whenever they're playing the alto sax. For part of the verses, it's got that super cheesy like late 90s, early 2000s piano chords that you get like with like Backstreet Boys or like, you know, Britney Spears, and like it's quite honestly the definition of guilty pleasure, and maybe it's stupid songs like these for why I like
I love that you love this.
We love you, Peter. You always bring out the best in K-pop for us on the hit replay.
This begs the question, though. Who was the first one to try dancing in a pool of water? Was that EXO?
Oh, yeah, probably.
Was that 2
Rain.
p.m.?
Maybe it was Rain, actually.
Oh, it must have been Rain.
Duh.
That only makes sense.
Yeah. My ultimate bias. Okay, now I'm having flashbacks to seeing Rain live and like the water falling from the ceiling onto his bear. Anyways.
So last but not least, Rhodri, what's making you hit replay?
Oh, it is... Maybe I'm not allowed to use this one since we're going to be talking about Taeyang today, but since it technically came out like a week ago, it's his intro song, one actually called White Night.
Yes.
So amazing. It starts with these like pulsing piano chords, and then it throws in like hi-hat sounds, and then you just like right when you don't expect it, you think it'll change. They keep the piano going, but they add the snare, and it's just like... And then it just explodes, and it's almost like unjust how soon it ends. I feel
this is just wrong.
You listen to that song and then like listen to the very ending. It's like that was the moment you go into verse 2, Taeyang. How dare you steal this moment from me? But it's so good while it lasts.
I just wanna hold you. There's nothing that can stop us. I just wanna hold
I have definitely been replaying that over and over again. And that has kind of reminded me, it reminds me of the BTS Spring Day teaser, where they do like a cappella and like just the rock segment of that song, which was just like so good. And this is an intro / teaser that was as good as that.
Yeah, it's an introduction song done right. And it's a good tease into the theme of today's Daebak or Not. It's a white night, and Rhodri, I can see you put in your show notes here, a white night means a sleepless night. So let's wake up with today's Daebak or Not. Taeyang's Wake Me Up. Okay.
I was like, what is it? What are we doing?
Wake me up, up, up. Don't wake me up, up, up. Yeah. Don't wake me up, up, up. Oh no. 아침이 오질 않길 난 기도해.
So if you haven't seen it yet, it's a really intellectually stimulating music video. I'm sure there's a lot of symbolism that we'll dive into, but it shows Taeyang wrestling with himself and acknowledging lyrically that he doesn't want to wake up, and you can see that struggle from him in a variety of different sets, which might mean different realities. We see him in a forest, a jungle, an apartment, in a light room, and the typical K-pop setting in a hallway.
Yeah. Several hallways.
It's fun. It deals with light and dark.
I think the opening scene of the video is so beautiful and well done, and it's really enticing. A
Yeah.
lot of K-pop music videos show you someone in their apartment or, people having fun or whatever. But this one, you start with seeing Taeyang in this dark forest. It's almost like a secret garden. It's mysterious where anything can happen. And the music also implies this mystery and this building up. So I really think they chose the right clip for the introduction to this song. It pulled me in.
Yeah, and even right before that dark forest, if you pay, like, you blink and you miss it in the beginning, but you can see...
I think that's exactly what I did. Please tell us, Peter.
Well,
Yeah, I must have done that also.
I mean, message-wise, this seems to be like dreamception. Lyrically, it seems to be about not wanting to wake up. Like, if I can hold on to this moment forever and to really dwell on that feeling of love and fearing that that love will disappear the moment you wake up, right? But ironically, the music video tries to show the opposite. It almost seems like him trying to wake himself up. The lyrics say, "Don't wake me up." And the song is called "Wake Me Up." And in the music video for the song, it seems like he's all about trying to wake up and maybe also trying to remember what happened in the dream. So at that very beginning, he's closing his eyes. But the way it was filmed where he's closing his eyes, it looks like it was filmed and recorded in the opposite direction, as if he was opening his eyes.
Oh.
But the way the
What?
film plays, it's as if he's closing his eyes, if that makes
Dang.
sense, right?
I missed so much.
So I don't know if that's him, because they're playing it backward, kind of forward, that film technique. I don't know if that's them just trying to show that he's trying to recollect what happened in the dream. So in him going back into the dream, you see a bunch of dreamlike sequences, like with like cards and books and stuff floating upwards, defying gravity, and a wine bottle spinning around. I don't know if that's him sinking back into the dream. And then we see him perhaps dive into that dream world in this, murky, dark forest. And as he's in this apartment, that seems to be him sort of being in that reality. And you see him reach for the camera, or maybe it happens in the reverse direction, but as he reaches for the camera, that's what goes back into that dreamlike state. And the screen sort of blurs, showing that, he's trying to recollect this moment when he's outside of his apartment back in the forest or in this K-pop music video setting hallway.
I really like this theory. I only saw the music video once, but in my memory of it, it doesn't really feel like he was lucid the whole time. And so, or like at all, really. Like, you see him lighting these fireworks right when the first drop happens. And it just it doesn't seem like it seems like when he's doing stuff like that, it's because he's being compelled by his dreamlike state to just kind of do whatever his dream dictates. And he fights it at other moments.
Yeah.
I'm being won over to this.
Yeah, well, there are moments, right, where you see him in like a sensory deprivation tank, and I don't know if that's him.
A what?
Oh, so like he's in a tank, right? Oh, like a tank of water, and it's completely black around him.
Like
and
the Wolverine tank.
Yes, yeah, indeed. And usually people are
he's
in
an
that
X-Man.
to feel this feeling of like
Obviously.
weightlessness, to not hear or see or smell or feel any of the five senses, right? Or at least as little as possible.
Yeah.
It shows him kind of like bringing his head out of it, and that's, I don't know if him trying to get out of that dreamlike state. But there are times where you see him, he's got his like hand on his head when he's in his apartment. That's when the apartment starts to lose its focus and even its color. It's like the colors start to distort. And it's like him trying to almost reflect back to what happened in his dream, right? And that's when
Maybe he's just really hungover, you guys.
Really lame.
the song is
Trying
just
to
about a
remember.
bad
He said,
hangover.
he said things he didn't mean last night to the girl. He's like, it was just the alcohol, baby. I'm sorry. Come back. Don't wake me up. I need a few more hours.
Yeah. Well, when he's in that dream, though, he seems to be turning on the light himself, right? So he turns on the fireworks, and that's when it starts going into slow motion. And it seems like he has this moment of like clarity, and he turns into like glitter hot bod dude, where he recognizes like
glitter hot bod dude.
like,
TM.
this is no longer the real world. This is the dream world, right? I mean, that's when he has that like moment of clarity within that dream world. And I don't know, like,
You guys,
again,
I am so excited to see him perform this live in San Jose. He
Yeah.
better be covered in glitter and shirtless on stage. He needs to be prepared.
I'm sure he'll be both of those things.
Yes.
He's probably listening to this right now.
Yeah, he needs to go through like all four set changes. He needs to have like the emo dark concept in this music video where he's like unsure of being in a dream, and then like this moment where he wakes up from being in the dream, or
Yeah.
he's in the light, and then the edgy apartment dude.
Sure. I
So.
like them all, but mostly glitter hot bod dude.
Yeah.
He needs most
I
of the
remember
time.
seeing that scene and thinking, dude, you're going to get it in your eyes. I was like really worried about his eyes getting glitter in them. Like, it's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, one last thing on this, and we can stop talking about the theory, but there's a moment where right on the bridge where he's in this open field and it's in moonlight. It's like at this twilight moment, and to me that seems like that's where he actually really achieves that moment of clarity in the dream and recognizing that he's in a dream, and then he sort of goes back into the light and back into the sparkly room.
Yeah.
And you can see toward the end of the music video, there's a moment where we see him and a reflection of himself
Right.
against a mirror of glass, and there's a crack in the glass where it looks like he banged his head against the glass. And I don't know if that's him trying to break out of that dream, but we see the reflection of Taeyang walking away, and Taeyang in the mirror stays where he is.
Abandoned by your own reflection.
Yeah, so at the very end of the music video, his eyes, they remain closed, but are they about to open? I don't know. So a lot of really interesting concepts here. We're not sure if we're in the real world or the dream world, if he's trying to wake up, if he wants to stay in the dream, or what.
Yeah, much is unsure here.
Yeah, and to me, as we were just discussing before the show, it reminds me of another song by the same title, Wake Me Up by BAP. I mean, it's dealing with this whole like dreamception matrix. What is the real world? And as we explored in that episode with BAP, is like light also symbolizes clarity and like intellectual growth and the truth.
Just to jump genres a bit, I noticed some YouTube comments saying, does anyone think of Evanescence? Wake Me Up Inside?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are a few really iconic songs with that theme.
Taeyang's referencing BAP, who was referencing Evanescence.
Totally.
True.
It's all connected.
So what do you guys think of the audio itself?
Right when I first listened to the album, I started with White Knight, obviously. I love that song. We've already discussed that. But then I went into Wake Me Up. I was like super excited because it kind of built the same way that White Knight did. And I was like, this is great. I love when a song makes me really wait for a chorus drop. And that one makes you wait. And so I was really excited. But then the chorus dropped, and I was actually a little disappointed with that. I feel like I don't know quite what's wrong, to be honest. I've tried to like listen and figure out what I don't like about it. But there's this phenomenon when you're writing music, especially EDM music, which I'm sure that anybody who's done that that's listening to this will totally understand what I mean right away. But I don't know if I'll be able to explain this right. Where you know something is wrong, but you don't know what it is yet. And when you write EDM, you're typically, one of the biggest problems you have is like, for instance, the sound of the instruments you're using, the sound of the synthesizers, the beats. You want everything to work together. And so you end up listening to your song on loop, or maybe just like 8 bars on loop over and over and over again for hours sometimes, looking for the right sound, tweaking it here and there. Yeah. And eventually, if there's a mistake, you start to not notice it anymore. And I feel like that might be what happened here, where there's something... Whoa. I mean, that's pretty presumptuous of me to say because I have never written a song for a YG person. I assume that whoever is definitely good at their job, but it just feels a little off to me. Like the pulsing synths aren't in sync with that thing in the front. The what's it called? Analog synth? I don't know the names of synths anymore. But there's one that's playing kind of a melody and one pulsing in the background, and I feel like they're off.
Yeah.
And I feel like it might have been a result of them like listening to the song so many times that they got used to it, because I started to get used to it too. But that still remains, a fact that I was a little disappointed when I first listened to it. So kind of imperfect, but I mean, it was good. And like I said, I'm getting used to it, but definitely imperfect.
Yeah. Well, on that note, Rhodri, I feel like listening to it, and this is, maybe we're getting a little technical for some of our listeners, but like, it was like they left the settings for one of the previous instruments before they swapped in the final one, right? So it's so there is, this technique of compression, or using a compressor or like a side chain, as some people like refer to the technique as, where you if you have a synth line going and you really hear that heavy bassy synth throughout, right? Usually playing the chord.
Yeah.
And then the kick drum and the claps come in. Every time a kick drum comes in and a clap comes in, you hear that sustaining bass synth completely drop in volume, just a little prematurely. Like the attack on it is a little too strong, and that felt just a little nauseating to me, especially if you're like playing it loudly in the car or in like a bass heavy room. Like you notice it every single time the bass synth comes out.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean.
Don't wake me up.
So I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but I am fascinated. And it's really interesting how what you just listened to prior to this song has such an intense influence on how you think of this one, or how you process the audio for this one. So Rhodri listened to White Knight first and then came to Wake Me Up. I listened to Darling first, as it was the first music video that came out. And I mean, not to go into my review of that one, but it's more simple and stripped down and basic. And so I was waiting for something with more oomph, more intensity, and Wake Me Up gave it to me. I was like, yes! This is an anthem right here. And I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Thematically, it seems to be all about recognizing and building on that self-awareness. I mean, musically, that's what it speaks to me as. It really reminds me of Taeyang's Make Me Love You from SNSD, in terms of how it builds on itself. And it sort of like crescendos toward the end in a very gradual, emotionally delicate but empowering way, if that makes any sense. But like that's emotionally kind of what it reminded me of.
I agree. I think that's a good comparison.
At the very end of the song, you hear him say, "Don't wake me up." And his voice is on a different filter than what it's been from the rest of the song.
Oh my God.
Right? And like when he says, "Don't wake me up," it's like you almost expect the chorus to play another time, right? Like for a final chorus. I mean, that's the feeling that I sort of feel like when you say, "Don't wake me up."
Don't wake me up.
And then go back into the chorus, right? But then the song ends.
Don't wake me up.
Maybe that feeling
could
of
be a
wanting to
theme.
hear the chorus again was something that they did on purpose, just so that it reinforces that earworm quality where you have to like replay the entire song again, or it puts your brain into that mental loop where you just become addicted to it.
That's a good point, and it also is the same as we'll get into Darling in a second, but Darling actually does that too. And also, I at least feel like White Knight does that where it ends too quickly and abruptly. Like I could definitely just play it right again from the beginning, right at that moment it ends, and feel like it was the same song, never ended.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
We can go into reviews. So how did you guys rate this 1 to 5 score, 1 being lowest, 5 being highest, on the concept?
On the concept, I think this was visually stunning. It was on message, and it has us going around in circles, wrestling with different theories. So and that's a good thing for us.
Yeah.
I would give this a strong 3.9 concept.
And I would give it a 3.5. The visuals are definitely great. I actually really liked this music video. I was telling you earlier, Peter, I usually don't like K-pop music videos that much. I don't watch them very often. I usually just wait for like dance practice videos because I love the dances, but not much else. But this one was like really soothing almost. It was like, I guess, dreamlike. But anyway, I liked watching it, and then I really like what we've discovered, or hopefully discovered, and not just are totally wrong about. But what we've discovered about this, the concept, as far as like storytelling, I think there's a lot of depth here. It's confusing, which is why I'm only giving it 3.5, but 3.5 is pretty good.
Okay.
So that's my score.
So I'm going to overrate it. I'm going to give it a solid 4 for the concept. And this is me without even like completing the theory. Like I'm still theory crafting on it right now. It's a song about a girl, but he's alone. And that has to have been on purpose. Like she's completely devoid in this feeling of trying to reach back and grasp that memory that you can't quite hold on to. That feels like you had that feeling, that emotion, but it's gone the moment you wake up. I love that, how they conveyed it in this music video, and I think I'm close to pinning the handle on what that actually means. So a solid 4 for the concept. Okay,
Nice. How
how would you guys rate the audio of the song? 1 to 5.
Audio for me was pretty nice. I'll go ahead and give it a 3.5. I think I'll be bumping this one.
I also am giving it a 3.5 for all the reasons I have heretofore expressed.
Ooh.
This is
How about
not
Peter?
fair. We're supposed to be different in our audio scores. Like, whatever.
Aw.
But also 3.5. It really builds
Yay.
on itself. I might like this more if I do more theory crafting, and then it builds like an emotional connection to me, and then maybe
Right.
I will like the song more later after I've like unlocked it. But 3.5 for me right now, it's right there with Taeyang's "Make Me Love You." Okay, guys.
Cool.
On the whole, is this song
Taebak or not? Taebak for me.
I think it's Daebak.
definitely Daebak?
I didn't come in
right.
thinking it was Daebak, but I have been convinced
Woo.
this is definitely Daebak.
My hope is that that's what we can at least offer as a podcast, to give you a different perspective on things, or looking at something in a different light. Hopefully we've been able to change the thinking for some of our listeners. Moving on.
Yeah, we got to get into Darling. I have been dying
Yeah.
to get into this song. I love it.
Telling you 내 두려움 속 희망은 너 Telling you 기나긴 여정의 끝에 영원한 건 없다고 온 세상이 말해도 Darling, darling you 내겐 너뿐이야.
Do you want to explain what happens?
What does happen? Does anything happen in the video?
Ooh, I guess we get Rhodri's review.
Yeah.
I only watched it once, but I remember much more than just seeing Taeyang
Honestly,
in circles.
it's just like him walking around in Arctic tundra and like Alaska in like, his crow, north of the wall outfit. And then it has,
I know, I saw that.
that's a Game of
Game
Thrones
of
reference.
Thrones reference.
Yeah,
and
maybe
then-
maybe it was a Game of Thrones reference.
Yeah. we have him walking around, in a smoggy city on the street outside of a warehouse. We've got a chick, back hugging him, or he's hugging the chick, I can't remember. We've got church pews also in the street, him on the top of a cityscape. We've got white doves being released, just like in Blade Runner, and concludes back on the black outfit. I don't know, seeing like the melting ice in the smog, I'm not sure if he was trying to make some sort of like political comment on global warming, but
Yes, global warming.
yeah, I'm sure there was more to it than that, and that was just an unintended consequence. But
That could be, because if you take for granted that there's like melting ice and tons of like dirty city, that maybe if it's not a statement on global warming, it's a very good way to get across the message that you're alone and things aren't going well.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was going to get. What do all of these settings have in common? He's isolated. They're desolate. He's like the last man on earth here. It's a pretty bad situation.
Except for a few doves.
Except for a few
chick,
dubs.
right?
And
like, I don't know if that chick, the girl who, we see...
is she real?
Yeah, maybe he's still
I guess
dreaming.
that's the question. Yeah, she does cry at one point. And do dream girls
Yeah.
cry? I don't know.
Ooh, that's true.
But we see doves. We see him as a crow. Like, doves are usually like a symbol of like souls, right? Moving on. So
Yeah.
it could be that he's the last man on earth. I don't know.
Yeah. And I remember seeing the flying doves in the same setting as the outdoor church scene with the pews there, and just those two together really hit me with a lot of Christian symbolism for being saved, for moving into the afterlife, being redeemed, that kind of thing. And that happens in the second half of the music video. The first half is all about just being out there alone in desolate, abandoned settings, but then he comes to church for the second half. What does it all mean?
That's Taeyang for you. Christian symbolism.
I think other reviewers have commented that this sounds sort of like the spiritual sequel to Eyes, Nose, Lips.
Yeah.
If you look into the meaning of that song, that 2014 major hit, Taeyang confessed that it was about his feelings for Min Hyo-rin and wishing for something that was in the past. This one seems to be sort of that same thing,
I think
right?
I
Although
read
it's got a different model.
that he said this album was inspired by his relationship with her.
What?
So that could be. I could be wrong about that, but
Yeah.
and I think maybe I got that from Wikipedia too, which day one Wikipedia is not as good as day 5 Wikipedia, but we'll see, I guess.
I could corroborate that. If you look into the lyrics, it's realizing that we're not good together. Nothing is forever, and some of the lyrics talk about like just go to someone else that never makes you cry, because clearly like I was angry at you, you were angry at me, and I'm sorry, but this isn't gonna work.
Yeah, there's a lot of push and pull in the lyrics and in the song itself. I mean, I think he starts out more angry, like lashing out at her for how she hurt him, and then in the
Right.
chorus talks about how much he still loves her, and there's this contradiction or paradox in that. But for anyone who's been in love, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
I think the message there is to get comfortable with the idea of impermanence, that you might have really been in love, but true love doesn't have to last forever, maybe.
Yeah.
It can have an end,
I really feel that temporality is going throughout this album, at least through the 3 songs that we've looked at, with Rhodri's intro, Waking Me Up, there's that moment that it can be all gone as soon as you wake up. It's the same thing here.
It's all about how you respond to that idea. Are you going to try and hold on to something that's already gone, or are you going to take a deep breath and let it go and accept?
Yeah.
What's the more mature choice, huh?
Yeah.
We're not going to give the answer here. But at least, this album and this conversation asked that question. Rhodri, I will let you take it away for the audio.
Good, because I have so much to say.
Woo.
The song, we've already said this, it sounds a lot like Eyes, Nose, Lips. It's kind of, in my mind, Eyes, Nose, Lips is the 2014 equivalent of Wedding Dress, and this is kind of the 2017 equivalent of Wedding Dress. Like, it's sort of
Yes.
this tried and true formula of piano beats and gradual intensity building towards an emotional climax that is usually not very happy. But Taeyang is good at that stuff, and this is something I think he's a sentimental guy. I think he and I couldn't help but think of G Dragon's 2014 Untitled thing, and how like quiet and sentimental and personal that is. I think these are two guys who have been friends forever and both have the same tastes in like their own music. Because when you do a song primarily on the piano, usually you practice your song on the piano, you write your song on the piano, and then you transfer it to other instruments. You have your producers make it into a pop song with beats and synths and you know, all of the other accoutrements that come with being a pop song. But when you decide to keep it on a piano, it's because something about the way that you felt while you played it on the piano, you just couldn't recreate it any other way. And you know that that's the best way to give the message to the people who will be listening, is to keep it acoustic, keep it personal, keep it you in your room expressing yourself, or in Taeyang's case, usually standing in a darkened room with his shirt off, moving in circles in very rhythmic and voluptuous ways.
All right, that escalated quickly.
Oh, it always does with Taeyang.
Oh, yes.
He can't keep his shirt on for much of any of his music videos.
What a shame. What a shame.
But anyway, the music, I wasn't planning on getting into like the chord structure or anything like that, but I really think there is some very interesting things here. Let me begin this by telling you here's my theory. The music playing is the girl in the relationship, and his singing is him. And it's an emotional struggle between the two the whole time. Here's my evidence for that.
You're giving me goosebumps, Rhodri.
Oh, I had so many doing this. There are a few ground rules I should lay here first, just so that this is a lot simpler as we go through it. Keep in mind that for those of you who don't know what a key signature is, by the way, it is the pattern that the notes follow that make it sound good. And so it usually starts on a note, and we name the key signature after the note that it starts on. Everything that starts on C in this is Taeyang's. Everything that starts on G is the girl's. And this is a struggle between the music that is playing and the melody of what Taeyang is singing. Taeyang represents Taeyang, and the music represents the girl. So remember, the music is the girl, the voice is Taeyang, C is Taeyang, G is the girl.
I like that conflict.
Let us begin. Long ago, just kidding. It starts in the intro. You've got it starts with A minor, and then goes to D major, and then goes back to A minor, and then goes to D major. D, by the way, is another significant one for the girl. Just keep that in mind as well. D and G, girl. C, Taeyang. A minor is unhappy. Major is happy. So it's a minor chord, unhappy, resolving to a major chord, happy. And let's listen to the very first part of the song. I think you will agree with me. It does not feel unhappy yet. So now that you've heard that, if all you knew about the song was that it was called Darling and it sounded like that, you wouldn't know this was a sad song. Not necessarily, at least. This is Taeyang, so of course it's probably sad. But he goes on and immediately changes the key signature. So it's like if this song is the story of their relationship, the relationship between the girl and the guy here, then the intro is like a false start. It's like you just met and you think you know this person, you think you'll be perfect for them, but then everything immediately changes the second you seal the deal. However you choose to seal the deal. It immediately changes to the key of C, which is Taeyang's key, but the girl is trying to express her freedom still. There are all happy chords here, all major chords, and yet it seems so sad. And that is because the melody does not quite match with the chords that are being played. The chords go out of the key signature. And so you start in the key signature, and then you're like wrestling to stay in the key signature the whole time, and that pattern that makes the song a happy song. But you're outside that pattern, and so you're outside happiness, and there's tension in the relationship. By the time the first verse is over, the very last chord is not one of the ones previously played in the pattern. There are several patterns throughout the verse. The very last chord breaks the pattern with an F minor chord. And that minor chord sort of breaks the early relationship where things were wrestling to go well, but now it's clear that something has to change. And something does change because the pre-chorus happens, and that is a huge change. They go to, they're still in the same key, but they're playing all kinds of chords that don't belong in it. They're playing A minor, they're playing E major. E major, by the way, for those of you who don't know music theory, is such a wrong chord to play in a C major key. So bad. As well as D, by the way, which gets played a lot in this song. D gets played a lot, and it is in the C major chord when it is played, and it is never belonging there. So the girl just doesn't belong in Taeyang's world. And so he, in order not to lose her, has to change his world to match hers. So we go to the chorus, and he does that. And the key changes to G, which is her chord, her key signature. However, Taeyang never sings in G major, the key signature of G major. So he never sings her song. So he, for whatever reason, stubbornness, they had a fight, they don't understand each other.
Right.
Taeyang can't get in her world. So he's letting her live in her world, but now they're kind of apart, and they're wrestling with each other still. They can't, they want this to work. I get the feeling that if this song were actually a girl and a guy in a relationship, the girl would be trying to work with the guy too, just as much as the guy's trying to work with the girl. It's clear Taeyang wants this girl, but it's also clear that the girl is sort of clinging to the melody and not going totally out of the way. But there's a lot of D, a lot of G in this chorus, a lot of D chords, G chords, A minor chords, stuff that only makes sense in the key of G major. Nothing that makes sense in Taeyang's world, and he's still singing as if he was in his world. However, for the very last line of it, he sings the words, "Darling, darling, you, nega noponya." Totally butchered that, I'm sure. But for those ones, he actually sings, the chord happens as C minor. So it kind of returns briefly to Taeyang's world, where the girl tries to match him, but it's a minor chord instead of a major chord. So it's an unhappy sort of compromise they've made.
Darling, darling, you 내겐 너뿐이야.
So he is basically singing, and he's finally starting to sing accidentals. He's singing outside his key signature. So this is totally uncomfortable for both of them. And then at the very end, they do 2 C minor chords, and then they do 2 D major chords. The chord that is not in Taeyang's world. The chord that is like the ultimate chord within the G major scale. The beautiful world of this girl that she loves, that she can't get rid of, that she can't live in Taeyang's world because this one is so her. They play that chord at the end of the chorus. And that's right when Taeyang is at his saddest. If instead of D major, it resolved to G, they would have both been in sync for that one brief moment. Because it ends on D, the place your brain immediately wants to go is to G. G is hers. However, Taeyang actually is singing a G at that moment. So he is willing to make the compromise right there, but it just doesn't happen. You hear in the song, and we'll play a clip of this in a second, you hear in the song the piano chord that is the D chord sort of starts to get louder and starts pulsing a little bit, as if it's like really wrestling with itself, struggling to try and become a G chord, but then they go right back into C, starting in Taeyang's world again. So
it's like
it doesn't happen.
Close. Just when you think they're going to make it, they completely separate.
It's just this struggle, this relationship, and he loves this girl, and the girl seems to love him too, but they just are not right for each other.
Yeah.
And so there's this frustration of constantly being not good enough for the girl throughout this entire song, and the girl not quite knowing how to be good enough for the guy, or whatever, however that works. We don't have enough information here, and I might be reading too much into it anyway, but we do know that it doesn't resolve. After all of this is over, the very end of the song, it ends, instead of with a D chord like it does in the other choruses, it ends with an open-ended G7 chord. So we finally get that G that we were looking for earlier. However, the 7th note on that chord leaves it open. So is that a resolution? It's not. But we don't know really what it is, because the song ends there. So the story remains untold. And I guess that's private between Taeyang and his girl. But it's an open-ended ending.
Yeah, that's so great, Roger. I'm so glad you brought that. Like, I listened to this And I wasn't listening to that conflict between the melody and the harmony, right? Or at least, between Taeyang singing and the instrumental. Because it sounds like it goes together, at least on the surface. But when you really dive into it, there's a lot of conflict between these two elements.
There is, yeah. It's crazy. That's what I like about this song so much. At first I liked it because it reminds me of Eyes, Nose, Lips. It reminds me of Wedding Dress. And I like both of those songs a lot. But once I really dived into this song and saw that possibly, at least, there was a story in here, I started to get chills. I just really felt like I knew Taeyang in that moment. Like he was an artist really expressing himself in the purest form a musician can, which is just to give us great music that matches the message.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Rhodri. I'm not sure if this song would succeed if it was done with any other singer. Mm-hmm. To your point, Rhodri, it was just a piano, a bass, and supporting vocals. And Taeyang, his voice really shines, especially in that conflict with the instrumental.
In my opinion, I've only watched this a few times, and Rhodri, your analysis has blown my mind and made me want to go back and listen to it again immediately and get all these hidden Easter eggs. But the melody itself did not grab me at all. I didn't think it was as good as Eyes, Nose, Lips. I don't like it as much as Wake Me Up. The melody seemed pretty basic and forgettable to me. There's some sweet moments in there, like the pre-chorus, but I've watched the video a few times now, but I couldn't hum the melody if I tried. I forgot it all.
Okay, final scores, 1 to 5 for the concept.
For the concept, I think this was in the high middle for me, so I'll give it a 3.6. It was a bit repetitive, and I did feel like clicking away sometimes, so it didn't grab my attention as much as other videos. So 3.6 on that.
I don't know. Does the story I just told you count as audio or concept?
I think that's audio. That's composition.
Yeah. Okay, I agree. I think the concept, as far as the music video and the kind of very obvious story he was telling in the lyrics, was a little bit basic. Not unwelcome. I liked Wedding Dress. I liked Eyes, Nose, Lips, and I liked Darling. I think probably a 3.
It was artistically done. And there's probably something here that I'm not reading, at least concept-wise. Maybe it illustrates itself more in the audio. I think it meets the bar, so it's a 3 for me.
All right. And then how about the audio, you guys? I take it Rhodri's going to give it a high score?
You would be correct. My score for this audio is a 4.6.
Whoa!
I love this song. I think all of us, all day, every day, are creating things, but an artist kind of goes beyond creation. They sort of do it. We do it to just survive, right? And then get social rewards and all this. But they're all the way up Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy of needs, to self-actualization. They just do this because they have to. And in this song, Taeyang feels like an artist who just has to tell his story. And I feel like he just did it so well, whether he intended all of the things that I came up with or not. I just thought this was so beautiful. I just got chills every time I found a new chord that matched my theory, and just thought, man, this is just something that came out of the ether through Taeyang and is just a beautiful representation of lost love that is so just unforgettable and beautiful. 4.6.
Yeah.
So good.
That makes me feel so basic. Because I'm gonna, I just can't. I didn't hear all of the layers and the beauty that you did. There's some sweet moments to it, but I was bored most of the song, honestly. So
it's okay.
I'm gonna drop it down 3.2.
Ooh, that is a crushing blow.
I mean, you put it in the same sentence with Eyes, Nose, Lips, and with Wedding Dress. I think Wedding Dress is far and away the best out of those 3. I could listen to that for the rest of my life. So maybe it's just personal taste, I guess. But yeah.
It could be. This is definitely the kind of song I typically like.
Well, I definitely feel Eyes, Nose, Lips and Wedding Dress. And this is that version of that song for the third wave of K-pop fans. Maybe you got into K-pop in 2009. Maybe you got into K-pop in 2014. Or maybe you're getting into K-pop in 2017. This is that song for each of those generations. And it fulfills that need for each of those generations. I was wrestling between liking Darling and Wake Me Up more. I was going back and forth because I like them both for different reasons. I'm still not sure which one I like more. But this one, like, I get that feeling that Rhodri, it shows in his theory. But Wedding Dress
Right?
stays with me stronger. So it's a 3.7 for me.
Cool. So
I'm speechless, guys. Speechless.
On the whole, is this song
Daebak or not?
Stephanie?
Why am I first? I'm still deciding.
You know the correct answer.
Okay. I'll put
No,
it to Rhodri.
it's fine. It's
Okay.
fine. I'm gonna like barely give it a Daebak.
Oh,
It's just barely there for me. Mainly
Thank you.
because you guys convinced me to come over to that side. That's it.
See, Rhodri, look what you did. You made someone who would hate this song like
excellent. That is all I
There you
want.
go.
Oh, this is so Daebak for me. I am going to be listening to this as much as I listened to Wedding Dress or Eyes, Nose, Lips. I loved both of those, by the way. I don't know what's all this picking favorites between the three. I love them all. And I
Clear.
will listen to all of them.
Wow.
I will add this one to the list. I love it.
Yeah, and there's no question that this is Daebak. I don't listen to R&B ballads. I don't always listen to R&B ballads.
But when I do.
But when I do, I listen to Taeyang.
Perfect. Peter, if there is anything
Okay.
this world could ask of you, it is just that.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, guys. So we've gone through all of our reviews, but let's take a step back here and think about how these songs fit into Taeyang's larger career trajectory. Do you think that these two songs in particular, and then the White Knight album, constitutes a good comeback choice for him? Or is it maybe too similar to his last releases, his most recent ones?
I'm going to say it was. And, our critique of Card is that they do a lot of the same thing over and over, right? Maybe it's just with Taeyang and everything that he does with Big Bang. I've gotten enough flavor from this artist that I've heard different sounds and different genres from this guy. And what do you call it? What's that song?
Keep singing.
Oh,
No,
Ringa
no, you don't want to
Linga?
hear me sing it. Ringa.
I love Ringa
Like that
Linga.
was a different.
More like
that was a
that.
different beast in itself, right? So we've gotten some variety from Taeyang, but absolutely, like this R&B ballad is at totally his sweet spot, and he spaced each of these albums apart where it affects different generations in different ways. And this album feels like it is intellectually mature enough for a mature idol. You
Yeah.
know? Like this is like good timing of this message and this feeling from him.
Definitely.
And he gives these songs because you can tell that it's emotionally striking him in that strong way.
I couldn't agree more.
I slightly prefer his more hip hop vibe stuff, but that's just my genre preference. I do like what he came out with here, and it shows a level of maturity, I think, where he has built upon what he did last. He wasn't just trying to grasp for the hype and the fame that the last song got him. He tried to build on it and make something more, I think.
Yeah.
So on that note, do you think that he has changed as an artist at all? Like when was the last album? Again, was it
2014.
14? Yeah, 3 years is like a lifetime in K-pop dog years.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
It's a very similar message, right? All the way to the beginning from Wedding Dress, where it's like this feeling of being like you're being friend zoned, right? From your friend, and the girl's going for the other
Yeah.
guy. This, I think, it's the same feeling, but it's a lot more sophisticated, in my opinion, even though we've seen it in 2 iterations previously. And this latest iteration, honestly feels the saddest. And maybe it's because he's about to go back to the army with GD and his other Big Bang boys. It's this dark wave that we're seeing from Big Bang right before they go
right.
away.
And you bring up a good point that he's done this theme so many times at different points in his life. Maybe the message or the song itself has gotten darker or changed because this outcome has happened so many times. He's been friend zoned and blocked and just down in the dumps so many times. He's like, you know what? Maybe this is just my lot.
Yeah, but maybe you'll make it up to him when he comes to San Jose, Stephanie.
Oh, yes.
You'll be there to comfort him.
For sure.
In those moments.
Just come right here, Taeyang. I will never friend zone you.
Lay upon thy bosom.
Yes, with all of the glitter. I take you and the glitter and the feathers and whatever. Just
Maybe that was less PG as well.
wear anything you want.
You want?
or not, yeah.
Oil.
All right, anyways. So all in all, I think that we can all agree that Taeyang is continuing to grow into a real musician and artist that we can respect and who has a long, successful career ahead of him in K-pop. He's not slowing down at all. And
I hope not.
I'm really excited about that.
He changes and his music changes as well. And that's really the best that we can expect from any of these like veteran K-pop idols or
Exactly.
groups. As far as listener feedback, I still haven't finished editing our last episode. So we're recording this before we put out the last one. So we'll get back to that. But I think just one other add-on comment. We had Taylor leave a comment on our Facebook. This will be a little bit old by the time this episode gets out, but Taylor left a comment on our Facebook acknowledging what we had to say about Girls' Generation, that Holiday definitely seemed like the weaker song compared to All Night. But Holiday filled that summer vibe, and he even points out that Kenzie, who wrote SNSD debut song, was also the writer of the Holiday song. So it was really SNSD coming full circle. So there was a lot of things we missed and got wrong about SNSD that sounds were more than ready to point out to us, and we've taken note. They're so ones. Okay, so that's it for this week of the K-Pop Cast. Rhodri, thank you so much for joining us. I always appreciate your time and your willingness to join us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
I have no idea what we're going to cover next. Maybe Hyuna. Maybe who else was coming back? BTS. Oh my gosh, like BTS. Like
BTS.
the K-pop world explodes whenever like BTS moves a finger and like the entire K-pop world shakes. Like
whenever they release a new episode of their like whatever show they do, the next day or the next few days, I see just like videos from it, like video clips from it all over.
Oh yeah, Bangtan TV. Yeah, I love it.
So it's so funny.
well,
I like the highlight reel.
oh, yeah.
Make sure to check that out before
Oh yeah,
The comeback drops. The highlight reel
reel
is
is like a
love-
movie.
BTS.
Okay.
They could just do anything and do it well, but they do everything they do well. Oh,
Okay. Well, you guys know where to find us and get in touch with us.
They're just like, all right, cut it out, guys.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to
Save
wrap
it.
it up here. So,
Yeah.
you know where to find us online digitally. I'm at DJ Peterlo. Rhodri, where can people find you?
I'm at Rhodri. It's my name twice. RHODRI. Or you can follow the K-pop show page. I have another podcast called the K-pop show that it's not active right now.
And it's
but,
worth listening to those
it's there.
episodes. If you're discovering these podcasts for the first time, go check and listen to all the older episodes from the K-pop show.
You can find me on Twitter at sparker2.
And don't forget to tweet at us. We love hearing from you guys, what we got wrong or what you agree with or what you like or dislike so that we can make this a better show. Just give us a tweet at...
Everybody tweet Peter and tell him what he did wrong.
Yeah, that hasn't stopped a lot of people, actually. But yeah, so you can give us a tweet at the K-Pop Cast, and then we'll record it there. Don't forget to subscribe, tell your friends to listen to K-Pop as a podcast. Catch you all next
Yay.
week. Bye-bye.
K-pop rules. Bye.